So, this is the point in time where we get into the nitty-gritty. Again, I'm your moderator tonight. My name again is Vanessa Harrison. And we are going to hear from candidates running for Minneapolis Park Board in Districts 1 and 2. We will begin with District 1. First up, welcome your District 1 candidates, Dan Miller and Dan Engelhardt. Introductions. 3 questions were prepped in advance by Parks and Power, and afterward we'll invite questions from the audience. Okay? Let's begin with introductions. We'll start with Dan Miller. If you could tell us who you are and why you're running.
I'm Dan Miller, and I'm running for District 1, which is most of the east side of the river of Minneapolis. Take the river, go up to the northern border of Columbia Heights, cross over to the eastern border of St. Paul and Roseville, all the way down past the Franklin Avenue Bridge. So it's a fairly large landmass, and I'm pleased to be running. So I got into the race a little late after the DFL convention. I felt that I have the background. I've volunteered for the last 10 years. I've been retired for just about 10 years. But I started out in my neighborhood, Wyndham Park in the Northeast, and moved on to different things that I loved, and became a member of the Bicycle Advisory Committee in Minneapolis, moved forward to Capital Long Range Improvement Committee, which scores all the public works projects in the city. And since leaving those, have been very active in my north and northeast communities with the Great Northern Greenway, which is just up here around the corner, that someday we're going to get across the river and connect north to northeast. And yeah, so that's what I've been up to. I think that background has given me some things to understand on how to be a commissioner. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Mr. Engelhardt.
Hey everybody, Dan Engelhardt, so emphasis on the Engelhardt because there's 2 Dans up here. I'm running because I believe in this political moment we need strong leaders at every level of government. It's weird for me to talk in the I because I'm an organizer. I'm used to talking in the we. So we got to talk about how we have power. Parks and power is near and dear to my heart. It's good work. That's what we got to do. Minneapolis has a really unique governing system with our park board and the promise of our parks, and it's not being met in so many ways. Southeast Como, for example, has serious inequities. We obviously have the deep racial disparities that we have in our society, and I just saw some real misses the Uptown Mall, for example, prioritizing unspecified pavement over 3 youth programming positions. And that poem really hit me about Amir on June 23rd. Those sort of things, you know, I never thought I'd run because I'm an organizer and I believe in pushing people forward and getting out of their comfort zone, and there's enough white guys out there. But, you know, it's time to meet the moment. This is a tough political moment. And I'm here to work with all of you and cut through the crap, because sometimes we're saying, oh, we can't do that, and this is the way we do that. We got to do things that people tell us are impossible and use our power and our strength in numbers, and I'm excited to do that with all of you in the community. Let's go.
Gentlemen, thank you so much. We're going to start with our first question. Encampments and parks have been one of the most visible challenges in Minneapolis. How should the park board balance compassion for people experiencing homelessness with the need to keep parks open and accessible to the public? Mr. Miller, why don't you go first?
Well, hello? Okay. I agree with the park policy as it is today. I think that parks need to be safe for everyone. Homeless people are welcome in our parks, but we just need to not go to the point of having an issue that came up last year with the strike, of having to pick up needles, of having to pick up stuff that is in an encampment and is there for children. And so homeless people are welcome, but it has to be a safe place for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, we have a societal breakdown here. We have, you know, so many reasons that are contributing to our unhoused relatives, and, you know, compassion and dignity is needed. It's about being in community for those that are there every day, working with our unhoused relatives and knowing what, and being in community and listening. I think my understanding with that is that pretty much everybody's decided that encampments in parks are not really safe for anybody. There's a certain size limit and threshold, but no matter what has to stop, whether it's in the parks or anywhere else in our city, is these violent evictions. Can you imagine being in that situation where you get everything thrown in the trash? Everything you had, whether it's your meds, your ID, how are you supposed to pick up the pieces when you're already struggling that much? So we got to have compassion and dignity, and you know, I think we've all kind of come to the conclusion that encampments in parks aren't the way at this point. But if somebody is one person or a few people, that's where they're at for the moment. We gotta treat them like human beings with full dignity, and figure out what they need and what can really help them and meet them where they're at. So no violent evictions, that as a minimum. That's gotta stop. Thanks.
Thank you both gentlemen. We will move on to the next question, which has to do with equity in park funding. Some neighborhoods enjoy well-funded, well-maintained parks, while others, especially historically marginalized communities, struggle with outdated and neglected facilities. How would you ensure resources are distributed equitably across the city?
I think that Parks for All assisted the park board in a policy that was called the 20-year Parks Program, and is sought out as Parks for All. A little different, but the same thing, which is a matrix of scoring parks that brings equity to the #1 priority. There's many things they've been working on for 7 years. If you go on to the site, the NPRB site, you will see what's been going on in the last 7 years. And it's going to take 20. It's basic repairs to upgrade parks. Now, none of us in our own parks feels like anything is going on, but actually in action, quite a bit is if you go back and take a look at what's happening. In District 1, we have two parks this year that are going through improvements. One is Wadno, the other one is Audubon. Luxton is on its way, and so I think we're moving in the right direction, and we'll keep on going.
Mr. Miller, thank you. Ms. Whitmer?
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing to have plans on paper, it's another thing to use your eyes and go around. I did a mentorship program with Boulder Options where a young boy lived off Lowry, and we're supposed to run a 5K. So I'm like, well, the lakes are a 5K. This little boy, well, he's 13, not that little. He'd never seen the lakes before. He had never seen the lakes before. He was blown away. I mean, that is the disparity. So how are we going to fix it? We get people to be in every aspect of our community so they feel welcoming, safe, belonging, all that. And then we bring them to park board meetings. We've got to move 5 commissioners or more sometimes. And we get people to understand it's their parks, it's our power. When we show up, we have power and move it along. I'm tired of 20-year plans, 10-year plans. Let's figure it out. I mean, look at who's endorsed me. I got intergovernmental partners all across the board. I've been making things happen at representing state employees and my whole career as an organizer. I'm tired of hearing that things are impossible. I want to make the impossible possible with you in community. Let's go.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. Final scripted question. This has to do with transparency and accountability. What specific steps would you take to increase transparency and public trust in the park board's operation and decision-making? Mr. Miller, you have the mic.
Well, just if you realize what it takes for engagement, that's why it takes so long. And we might want to have things done now. We all want that to have happen. Park board's actually been working pretty hard at doing broad engagement. And that engagement goes with master plans. Northside had a master plan. Northeast had a master plan. It takes years to do this stuff, and it takes the bodies to do it. So let's not discount the work that communities have already put into these things. How to make this more transparent? Well, I think as a park commissioner, I need to be an ambassador. I need to be able to provide a lot of information that is out there and getting out there, but it's just not getting to as many people as it needs to be. We need to celebrate some of the things that are going on.
You have a question after this?
Absolutely. What specific steps would you take to increase transparency and public trust in the park board's operation and decision-making?
Yeah, specific steps. I mean, first of all, I was on the board. I was basically real close to being on the park board. We met in the park board and all that, above the Falls Community Advisory Committee. We had polluter right here in Northern Meadows. Some of you in this room were in that fight, and I was in that fight with y'all. And we were told, all again about the impossible or this and that. This is what has to happen, and we just kept fighting and said that's not good enough. So yeah, plans and engagement are important. The Uptown Mall, which I think I referenced earlier, was intentional to recruit renters, diversity on that community advisory committee. And then the incumbent, who's not running anymore, that's supporting the other Dan here, just reverse course and listen to the wealthy that don't want anybody parking near their house. That's what that was about. And that's ridiculous. Specific steps, I am committed. When Mitchell and Carrick and others were on strike for 22 days last summer on day one, I was shocked. I couldn't even believe it. What the heck? So I'm committed to, first and foremost, starting a labor committee, chairing that labor committee, and making sure there are workers on that labor committee. So that's my first concrete step. But every other way, I'm just break it down. It doesn't need to be about the biggest words or this or that plan. This is what the problem is. This is what it's going to take to move people. This commissioner's waffling. Who do you know in District 3 or 2 or whatever it's going to take to get what we know we need? It's about organizing. It's about power. It's about who has it and who doesn't. And I'm going to explain that real simply and real clearly and push you to join me in making what we need to happen.
Gentlemen, thank you both so much. Now, we're going to open up the questions to the audience. If you have questions, if you want to ask a question of either of the candidates, please raise your hand. And I will bring the mic to you. You would say you can come up to the mic, but I have the mic. So I will bring the mic to you. Just raise your hand and I will come to you, okay?
Denon, Ward 1, Vice President of Lyman 363. So my question has to do with the strike. The first strike in park board history, it was the largest BIPOC group at the park board. What are your plans to make sure that this doesn't happen again? We're on strike for 22 days, and also, are you labor endorsed?
Mr. Miller.
Well, I'm not labor endorsed because I got into it late. Okay. And I wasn't on the park board when the strike happened. I think that there are solutions that everybody learns something about that. It was a bad mark. It was a bad mark on everybody. Park board and the union, particularly the union leadership. And go ahead and review it, think about it, but the park board is more than just a union contract. I've got to take care of people in my district, some 70,000 people. Those are the people I'll be listening to as much as I can.
I live in your district.
You do, and we'll be talking. So, I mean, we have a lot of issues. If you take a look at the park board, the 200-page budget from last year, and to be able to see the challenges that are out there with a dollar amount that is not increasing, it's got to stay the same, costs are going up, something's got to crack. And that will be
The workers' back.
could be workers' backs, could be a reduction in labor, it will be a reduction in services, is what it will be across the board.
Mr. Engelhardt.
Well, first of all, I guess we got to make sure I get elected with language like that. That's insulting. 22-day long strike that started on the 4th of July, that is absurd. If we can't lead with workers, what are we doing? That strike was a failure of management. There was unfair labor practice proposals introduced after the strike began that were regressive and concessionary and meet the definition of illegal. There was a resolution introduced way too far into the strike that literally said, take away those illegal proposals so we can settle this thing. That should have been a 9-0 vote. I am shocked at what you just said. I'm ashamed to have the same first name. That is ridiculous. So, I mean, obviously I said earlier to start and share a labor committee with workers on it. We need commissioners at the bargaining table. Commissioners have been told from, whatever composition from however many years past that all you do is approve or deny a contract, you do not get involved. Why do we even elect them then? I mean, we have to lead with workers. Every organization has to lead with workers. That is who makes things go. We can consider workers part of an amenity, but that's an insult to human dignity. Come on. So I'm going to lead with workers. That's what I've been doing my whole life. That's why I landed on being a union organizer, because it's the most pure form of power. And yeah, we got to work within budgets. I've represented state employees for 14 years. I've had to navigate difficult issues with wildland fire. You name it. I've really landed some different things. I'm proud when Governor Walz put out the one Minnesota his first executive order on diversity, equity, and inclusion, which really has just been words on paper. But I represent the Department of Education, and they said, we have a real need here. We don't have a single supervisor that's a person of color and anywhere in the management chain, except for the state mandated one who has to be tribally enrolled. And we fought for that, and we crafted some unique language to implement the one MDE Council on Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, which now results in an equity center there, and we have a whole different composition of that leadership and management team. So there's all kinds of specific plans, but I'm going to start with the labor committee, with workers on it, and I'm going to chair that. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Next question?
A question for both of you. Should MPRB continue the tree carbon offset program that allows our utilities, Excel and CenterPoint, to give MPRB money and in exchange fail to transition their own energy away from fossil fuels?
Mr. Engelhardt.
Short answer, no. That's a greenwashing scam promoted by corporations and the wealthy. What we need to do is have enough arborists that can maintain our healthy urban tree canopy and enough staff I understand there haven't been any trees planted from that program, and I mean that's ridiculous. But also when we do see, very young trees planted, they're not maintained, they're not watered, they die. What we really need is enough full-time equivalent, staff like Carrick, who's an arborist, and to respect the workers to maintain and keep our urban tree canopy healthy. So no, that program is greenwashing, and it needs to go. Thank you.
Mr. Miller, you have a mic.
Behind the youth programming, the second largest expense in MPRB is forestry, is ecology, is environment. Okay? That's,
I'm sorry, I didn't catch what you said. I'm just taking notes. Could you say that one more time?
I said that behind youth programming, the largest expense the park board is trying to invest in is in the environment. And that is brought up by the forestry department. It is brought up by what is going on with the river, the coordination of different state and organizations like the Mississippi Watershed Management Organization to try to move that stuff forward. But that's something that we should be proud of. That is something that's important to be seen. I cannot speak to the Hurt plant. I just, that is something that is not in my thinking, and I don't think at the moment it's in the park board's domain, so.
I think you might have misunderstood what the person asked. They were asking about the tree carbon offset program.
I can't comment on that. I'm not sure what that's about. So I'll just say that.
Dan just told you.
I'll just say that what I understand after reviewing 200 pages of last year's budget is that there's an investment that's being done by the park board that is significant in youth programming, followed by forestry. Forestry and environment.
So part of the park board's mission statement is protecting wildlife. That's been integrated into the comprehensive plan and operations. For example, Graco Park, the building that was just constructed there, has very beautiful bird-safe glass on it to reduce window collisions. How are you going to prioritize protecting wildlife in the park system?
Mr. Miller, you have the mic.
Well, there's a lot of stormwater runoff, big deal to protect the river. That is a multi-agency, state, city, county, park board issue. There's a 72-inch drain that is going to get replaced that's dumping stormwater directly into the river off of 13th Street Northeast, 13th Avenue Northeast, down where the Marshall Street and University. That's going to be replaced. That's a big deal. The Mississippi Flyway, tremendous thing, not only up the river, but what is being done right now across 26th Avenue North. There's other sections in the city that are also looking at this to try to not only be places for pollinator gardens. They're about flora and fauna, and quite frankly, they try to do something about a heat index that's rising as we go by.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Mr. Engelhardt, you have the mic.
Yeah, appreciate that question a lot. I mean, there's a great blue heron on here for lots of reasons, but it's amazing that we have a heron rookery in an urban environment like this. You canoe down a wild and scenic river and they'll fly away anytime you get anywhere close. So let's protect those herons, make sure the Upper Harbor Terminal doesn't have lasers that damage them. But Graco is a great example. Sure, the park board owned building has bird-safe glass. It's not very tall, but now we don't have to worry about it because Graco's decided to up and move out to the burbs and be gone even after they got tax incentive financing and all kinds of things. They bullied their way right through that land. They got a sweetheart deal on the parcel where they were planning to build their world headquarters. It was going to be out of step with the Above the Falls and River First plan, and they refused to put bird-safe glass on it. And they said we're going to name the park Graco Park, which is out of line with the park board principles and values. So, I mean, I would not have allowed that to happen, and I would have told you all that it was happening. Those negotiations happened behind closed doors, and the District 1 Commissioner at the time wasn't even involved, and that's ridiculous. There's no way people won't let me in a room when it's affecting us on the east side of the river, or when I feel I need to be in the room. So I'll tell you that, because I hope you can tell that already by the way I carry myself. So it's going to be open, it's going to be transparent. We got to protect our urban wildlife, absolutely. That same District 1 Commissioner at the time was Chris Meyer. I had posted something about how cool it was to see beavers swimming right along that easement that was part of the issue with Graco Park, which again was a failure because we didn't get things in writing with their tax incentive financing, and Graco was suing the city, and then they got everything they wanted, and the park board. And I posted about how cool it was to see a beaver there, and Chris Meyer told me about the park board policy of basically drowning beavers. And, you know, so what the, you know, come on. And people don't know about that until you're connected. So we have to protect our urban wildlife, whether that's bird safe glass or humane ways to make sure that our, you know, we're upholding the promise of our parks for not only people, but for the animals. Thank you.
Did you say the beaver was drowned?
There is a policy that drowns beavers. It's a trap that drowns them that the park board uses, yep.
I have a question for y'all. Being on the north side and north side and northeast side, we've had some very, very difficult times in our youth, right? And I'd like to hear what is your plan if you were elected to be park board commissioner to change some of the barriers that are happening in our parks, because most of you know kids don't go to the parks no more. They're just not playing it. I don't care what they say to you. I don't care what number they present to you. You look at the real data, drive by. Because the data that's really real is when you go to the park, not what they're telling you at the meeting. And I hope you know that. But what would you do to keep these parks safe and make sure these kids come back and play?
Mr. Engelhardt.
Yeah, I love that question. I mean, right, we got to look with our own eyes and see what we see. You know, first and foremost, I think, you know, we have a gun crisis in this society. That poem, June 23rd, and Amir Atkins, you know, that really, all of that was powerful. You know, that the common denominator there is guns. So we got to have an armed response to an armed crisis, but that doesn't mean we have police harassing our youth in the parks, that it's welcoming and belonging, that we build out a culture and a system where they feel like it's their healthy third space. Everyone feels that way when they're there. Also, what is the programming? You know, why do people want to do something because that's what we've been doing for decades, or what would interest people? I student taught first grade back when I got my teaching license, and at the time it was 2010, and you know, the SpongeBob dance, look it up, it's amazing. That was all the rage, right? And it was like, maybe if we had SpongeBob dance-offs in the park. I mean, what's happening right now? Back when that stupid milk crate thing was happening, I saw kids putting that up in the park. Let's not do that. But you know, like what's hip, what's popular, what are people wanting to do, and that's by deeply listening. Like, help me understand, what are you doing, and what do the kids want? What are the adults willing to bring them to, and what do we think is healthy for them? Probably not the milk crate thing, but I think the SpongeBob dance would be just fine. But also, yeah, do you feel welcome? Do you belong? Do you think you're going to get harassed by an adult, whether or not they're one of the employed park police or not? Why are they not going there? Ask them. That same first grade experience, there was a young boy that, you know, didn't get to go to recess or music or any of the things, and the first grade teachers, where I was just a student teacher, I said, does anybody think about asking Nathaniel what's up? They're like, well, try, I guess. And I'm like, oh, it was at home. He didn't get fed right. The door to his room didn't shut. People were up late. It was loud. It's pretty obvious what's going on there. So let's listen to the kids. Treat them like human beings. Thank you.
Mr. Miller, you have a mic.
So we all come to this position with strengths, things that we know, things that we may not know. And the important thing is that you can apply what you know to the stuff that you don't know, and get out there and figure out how to help. Figure out how to help. One of the most common questions, one of the big questions that I get at the doors is our youth program. Is having a respect for the coaches, is having a respect and a communication between the park director and the neighborhood. And to be able to look at being able to apply some freedom to be able to offer some programming that is unique to that neighborhood, unique to the needs of that neighborhood. Last night I was down in Luxton, and Luxton is near 94 on the south side. It's basic. It's in Prospect Park, but it really serves Luxton Park. Luxton, Glendale, and it was really empty. Spark D was the studio that was opening up. There's 5 of them now. One in Harrison, one at the Rivers Hub, brand new, in northeast Minneapolis. One in Whittier. And what it does is it allows kids after school to be able to use a green screen, be able to use a mic, and be able to sing, and be able to do different things, and be a youth center outside of school. It was really I met people that were originally from Glendale, and it was just very, very interesting to see a family come back from out of town to celebrate this unique little thing happening.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. We have time for 2 more questions. Victoria, I believe you were next.
Okay, what do you plan to do to bridge the park gap in Southeast Como? And would you support a park at the Tuttle Elementary School site?
Mr. Miller?
Well, we got the grand rounds. We've got $5.5 million that's going to get planted someplace soon. One of those locations would be on the east side of the southeast Como neighborhood, the park that's being planned there. I support what's going on at Tuttle School and what you folks are doing, and I think that is admirable to be continuing to figure out how we can move forward on that in conjunction with how that building will get reutilized.
Mr. Engelhardt?
Yes, absolutely. I support a park at the Tuttle School. I think that we've missed some opportunities along the way to do more with that property, and that's unfortunate. I'm not sure exactly how far things are along with that, but I think there's some more opportunities. But yes, I support a park there. Southeast Como has incredible disparities. There are amazing people like you, Victoria and Zach, that advocate for your neighborhood. The promise and the commitment of the park system that was created in the late 1800s is just not being met in Southeast Como. And District 1 is, like Ward 1 in some ways. The neighborhoods with Southeast on them get ignored by the bulk of by the majority of the map, if you will. And it's time for that to stop. So Southeast Como has Van Cleef Park, and that's it. There's density, which is good, so there's not a lot of green space, but we got to make sure those park dedication fees with any new construction get committed to green space, and what can we do to really lift up and change the massive disparities, not only in Southeast Como, but on all of that part of District 1, including Prospect Park. If we got a plan, and we want to love and talk about plans and however many years they're going to take, we got to make sure they're met. And and that's it's nice for me thinking about winning and getting elected to know that there are such amazing advocates and passionate and solid and doing the work already in Southeast Como to help bring this forward. So I look forward to working with all you in community and addressing every single disparity, whether it's literally the disparity for everyone in green space or who people are, where they come from, how they look, how they were born. Let's go.
So much. I've been updated. We actually do have more time than we thought, so we're going to take a few more questions. Anybody else?
Hi, my name is Carrick. I am a forestry arborist at the Minneapolis Park and Rec Board. I'm curious, you both listed a number of your accomplishments and organizations within the communities that you're working with. I'm curious if you could outline which organizations those are again, because I think a lot of it I kind of missed, and also how you plan to incorporate input from those organizations and from community if elected, and also how to remain accessible. A big issue that we had during the strike was that the commissioners were not accessible, whether it was our union trying to communicate with them, whether for the past 3.5 years I have tried to personally communicate with them, and that has been a big challenge. So both how would you incorporate community input into your actions as a commissioner, and how will you remain accessible for community that is already engaged and doing the work?
Yeah, thank you for that question. Yeah, I have lots of organizational endorsements. I mean, I'm proud that the union that I'm a member of is my first labor endorsement, OPIU Local 12. I used to be on the executive board. I'm a steward there. The union I work for, MAPE, Minnesota Association of Professional Employees, has endorsed me. And then it goes on and on. I spend the whole time talking about all the labor endorsements I had. I'm excited to have my sign up with MFE on Plymouth, and Dan's got his signs on the other side of the street. So, I mean, it goes on and on. I got the Senior Caucus endorsement. I got Disability Caucus endorsement. I got the Building Trades, LIUNA, your union, on and on, and so many legislators. How do I stay transparent? I mean, it's wild to be up here speaking in the eye. I'm an organizer and I believe in deeply listening. You'll always know where I stand. If I don't agree, I'll tell you right away. And I'll say, help me understand. I'm not sure I'm following you. What is that? Deeply listening. I believe we should strive for 80% listening, 20% talking in an organizing conversation, but if we fall back on 2 ears, 1 mouth, that's all right. And one thing I've learned over the years is I love it when I'm wrong, because that means I was in a community, in a relationship enough to be told that there was a disagreement in advance, and then when I'm wrong, what I'm talking about is in the context of organizing, and it's about strategy or a tactic within the strategy, and then when I'm wrong, it's because we won. It's like, okay, people wanted to go ahead, and I'm like, oh, maybe that was too risky or whatever in the right time, and it's like they went ahead, with putting themselves out a little bit further, and then they brought other people along with them. So I love admitting when I'm wrong. I love being in a deep relationship and that kind of thing where we can say, hey, that didn't feel very good, or I didn't feel listened to, but also just saying, this is what it's going to take. It's going to take all of you stepping forward. So I already talked about some of this. Time's up. I love that question, though. Thank you.
Mr. Miller, you have the mic.
Well, as a commissioner, I'm going to be about hope and collaboration. And I've worked with a lot of neighbor organizations with this Great Northern Greenway, both on the north side and northeast. I come out of a neighborhood background. I've been a bike coach for 10 years at Pillsbury Elementary. I've been on the Bicycle Advisory Committee for just a little under 6 years, where we've seen tremendous changes go on. They're little changes that sometimes turn into a big one, like University and Central, which are going to be before the 2030. We're going to see big changes. Pretty cool. I was on Click. I had to score, along with 30 people, the projects that would go into the city budget. Equity was the primary piece that went into that. Special scores went on for that. So I have background in that, and I think that type of background. I worked for 40 years in management, and before that I was a union organizer as well. So I think that I'll leave it at that. I don't know how many seconds you got left. Does that help?
Any other questions at this point in time?
District 1 obviously isn't as diverse as District 2. District 1 isn't, is obviously not as diverse as District 2. But how will you all engage the BIPOC community when it comes to the park board?
Mr. Miller, you have the mic.
Well, I've been up in, I I lived on the north side, and I've been volunteering on the north side for 10 years. And I've lived in Phillips. I was active in the Phillips neighborhood back 35 years ago when they tried to put a garbage burner in the neighborhood. So I have, so I've engaged with BIPOC community all my life, and that's just the way it is, and part of my makeup.
Thank you for that question. You know, I mean, I think look at my community endorsements, elected endorsements, that sort of thing. I'm already doing it. But you know, the whole like, if you come here to help me, no thanks. But if you understand that our liberation is bound together, let's go. That's been my approach. I mean, collective liberation just makes so much sense. But how do you do that? You do that by listening. You do that by finding out who really the leaders are, and leaders, you know, have followers. But just because someone's a follower doesn't mean their voice doesn't matter too. So deeply listening, tell me more, help me understand what you care about, and developing real relationships. I cut my proverbial teeth as an organizing nursing home workers in New Jersey. One of the more wild moments was we were all done. We were taking a photo and quote why they were voting yes. We were getting close to the union election, and this woman who's from Haiti said she wanted me to meet her son. I was in my mid-20s at the time, 48 now, and so we were just waiting around, just small talking. So she's like, "Dan, you know, in my heart, I know you are Haitian." I'm like, "Oh, see, I'm not Haitian. Like, I'm a white kid from Wisconsin, but I know what you mean, and I really appreciate that." So, you know, I think it's about authenticity and really caring. When you ask a question, you care about the answer, and you know, talking about power in a real way. People that don't have power, think of it as a negative. Power exists. It's like energy. It's neither created nor destroyed. It only changes form. We have power when we come together and use our strength in numbers and be in real deep relationship. So it's people that might prop themselves up as a leader, or people that really are just organic leaders and don't want to speak in the eye, and getting to know all of them and talk about what matters. And then when they're involved, respect their engagement, not like the Uptown Mall, like the incumbent in District 1 did, who's supporting the other Dan here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think we have another question over here.
Yes, thanks for letting me ask another question. So Dan Olson, you made a statement when you were talking about the strike that we all learned from the strike, but I'm very curious, both of you, what you learned about the strike.
Mr. Engelhardt, have the mic.
I mean, I learned a lot. I learned that I better think about running for District 1 Commissioner. I was shocked to, you know, that it even happened on the 4th of July. And I'm like, okay, I gotta get down there. And of course I can like cherish singing Solidarity Forever with Ilhan on the 4th of July, but for the reason it was, what the heck? And I'm like, and it kept going on. And we, you know, that we had park board commissioners saying they didn't know enough about the contract 21 days into the strike. The incumbent Billy said, you know, using management's talking points, saying you should take these concessions. I was embarrassed to be a Minneapolis resident. And I know we can do better. We can't even come close to calling ourselves a union town with a situation like that. I learned that, like too many other things, labor needs to be more diligent about what labor support means. Labor friendly just means they're not actively trying to kill us. We got to do better. We need labor champions. And that the commissioners were told, all you do, you don't do anything. All you can do is vote yes or no on the contract once it gets to you. And they were told that, and they listened. Not only in that bargain, but for decades beforehand. And that's just not who I am. That's not who I've ever been. You know, we got to get organized, we got to get together, and we got to be in deep relationships. So I learned that, and I learned that there's no labor committee. Look at all the park board committees that exist. There are lots of them, and I'm sure all of them have good reason to exist. But to not have a labor committee is absurd. For park board commissioners to say they don't know enough about the contract 21 days into a strike. That's embarrassing. I think you should just resign at that point. So, you know, I learned a lot, and I learned that the incumbent Billy wouldn't even talk to me because he said I was biased, so I connected him with the mediator. We need real leaders on the park board that will stand up for workers and everybody, and that is clearly not the composition. And we have Amber who's running at large. We have a pro-labor slate. Support the slate. Thank you.
Mr. Miller, you have the mic.
I'm sorry, I'm just blanking for a second. Briefly, what was?
What did you learn from the strike?
I think that we are coming out of a period of a pandemic. We are coming out of a period of George Floyd's murder, and we're trying to heal. And that's not just a straight thing. It's a lot of bumps here and there. And we've seen that for the last 5 years. And that's hard. And that's hard. I don't totally understand. I mean, I can only tell you what I've read in the newspaper, which reflects worse on Luna. Worse on Luna's leadership than on the park board, okay? I don't trust that necessarily. I think there's a lot to learn. I think there are some things that we could change in policy. There's not a position for park commissioners in the policy to be able to respond or act on a union contract. To have national leaders and everybody else come down and try to beat up on a park board and not come up and say, bring the money with you when you want to back it up. Those folks were stuck and they were trying, and I think that leadership led them down a track that a lot of people in Luna didn't want to go. Okay?
We have time for some more questions.
As we head into Indigenous Peoples Day weekend, I'd like to ask what the role of the park board is in the relationship to the legacy of stolen land and land back.
Mr. Miller, you have the mic.
Again, there are things going on that I am not tight on being able to say, but down in St. Anthony Falls, in that area, the land back, and the things that have been going on are doing well. In District 1, we have the Pioneer statue, which has been a source of aggravation and harm. And I think that the St. Anthony West neighborhood has been conducting something for 5 years that is heading for its dissolution and disappearing. So,
Mr. Engelhardt?
Love that question. Thank you very much. If you look at my website, or even if you don't, it's there. I say land back is not just words, it's an ideal to actualize. And I'll just say that's not, you know, super straightforward. It's not like, here's a whole park, go for it. It is Indigenous Peoples Day on Monday, and it used to have a different name. So good on us for changing that name here in Minnesota. So part of it's about changing names. Part of it is looking at, I think that Grand Portage State Park, which if you haven't been, try to get up there. It's all the way on the border. It's a state park, but it's also, you know, tribal land. So that, can we model things like that? So the land is still public, like public land is public land. And the whole concept of land ownership is tricky when we're talking about land acknowledgements. And I've had so many people I'm in a relationship with that, you know, say, you know, that's just performative. It doesn't have action to it. Like, stop with your land acknowledgements. So acknowledging that, but I mean, we got to change some names. So-called Lake Harriet is named after Harriet Leavenworth, and yeah, that Leavenworth. You know, I live in the Holland neighborhood, and yeah, I mean, the Northeast has president-named streets so people could study for the citizenship test. But guess why Jackson Square Park's named Jackson Square Park? I mean, talk about harm to our native relatives. and indigenous relatives. So land back is bigger than just the land itself. It's about an embodiment of respecting people and what they've been through and the harm that has been caused to them. Falling Water Festivals this weekend, go there. You get an opportunity to do a round dance. You might feel a little awkward and weird at first because you've never done it, but get out there. People will love it, you'll smile, and it feels really good. And there will be round dances at Falling Water Festival over the weekend, and just do it. Be in community. Let's go. Oh, my bad.
We still have some time left, and anyone has questions?
I also have a question, by the way.
This is a very technical question, but Park Board Commissioner requires a lot of technical knowledge, so I think it's fair. Currently, there are community gardens in about a dozen parks. There's about 200 people who get plots every year, which is less than half of the number of people who apply who would like one. And the policy is undergoing an update. Right now, the staffer who runs the community garden program can only site new gardens in designated urban agriculture zones as part of each park's long-range vision plan. Would you be open to reconsidering allowing park staff to independently decide where to place community gardens?
Mr. Engelhardt, you have the mic.
It sounds like a bit of a yes or no, and the answer is yes, open to reconsidering that. I think community gardens are great. I mean, you're going to be going, the proverbial you, that person that's invested in that dirt and in those plants is going to be going back there on a regular basis, and that's part of welcoming and belonging and safety and is just people being present and caring about where they're at and where they live and what feeds them and nourishes their soul and their spirit. So the answer is yes. I'll just expound a little bit because I guess I can't help myself. But when the community gardens are great, and let's have more of them, and let's open things up and not be so rigid. Yes. So the answer is yes. But I mean, when there's a community garden, Sioux Line and the Greenway, and that's a shame. That $800,000, because people couldn't even think about moving their community garden a little bit, and we lost out on an accessible entry point to the Greenway. So yes to community gardens, but also not just every single community garden, no matter what, we're going to hold on for dear life because of this specific location when we're losing out on $800,000 in an accessible entry point to a wonderful shared space like the Greenway. So yes, and thank you.
Mr. Miller?
I'd be open to reviewing it. I don't know enough about that specific thing to really tell you, other than that there's a lot of variety in community gardens and interest, from boulevards to private spaces that I see cropping up in North Minneapolis, Northeast Minneapolis. There's a lot of really, really cool stuff. And a community like Southeast Como has a number of gardens that are floral and vegetable that community has figured out how to do small grants, be able to pull this stuff together. And what's really beautiful, something that I don't see enough of, was to see people in their 80s sitting with college students, and they liked each other. They liked each other because they liked the plant. And I found that to be something that we should model in other areas that would be really cool.
The floor is still open for questions.
Yeah, I have one. Can you speak more specifically to what problems you have with Luna, which is Laguna 363, and what you're alleging during the strike, Dan Miller? Thank you.
I don't have anything further to add. I mean,
I think you owe it to us. You say things like that more than once.
I think that the union leadership in that space got ahead of itself and really didn't do any good for its membership. And that's it. Now, I mean,
It's live enough, by the way.
Live enough? Made every attempt to embarrass the park board. Every attempt, left and right. July 4th, top of the season, kill the guys. That's not collaboration. That's not collaboration. So that's what I see in the newspaper. And
Did you say embarrass the park board, try to attempt to what? I'm sorry.
I think that those types of collaborations can be done where they should have been done behind the scenes and not have to bring something out on July 4th to force the public into a tough situation that
Like working without a contract for 6 months?
that's not uncommon.
All right, thank you so much. We're going to bring it back to the order of the program. If there's no more questions, we're going to move on to closing statements. I want to thank everybody for your time. And for closing statements, we're going to start with you, Mr. Engelhardt.
Yeah, thanks Parks and Power. This is beautiful, and I hadn't eaten much today, so I really, anytime I get some plantains, I know Zach Fields will be there too. I appreciate that, and what a beautiful opening. So I needed that today, and thanks for the opportunity to have the two dams up here. We've got to really lean into Engelhardt. I think the choice has been made, obviously, clear. You can't make statements like that and not really back it up. There are things in life where it's just like, which side are you on? Why are the workers on strike? The workers are on strike. We support the workers. I mean, we can talk about the other thing afterward. The truth is, the park board introduced unfair labor practice proposals after the strike began. Illegal. You're taking the side of that. That's ridiculous. You'll always know where I stand. In this political moment, we need leaders that stand on values. I'm committed to our parks and our programming, which is a key part of our identity and our quality of life, that isn't being met for our neighbors in Southeast Como, that isn't being met on the north side for our young people of color. And it's time to bust through the noise, and we got to follow this plan, wait 10 years. I'm here to tell the truth, and I'm here to be in community with all of you. And I'm here to focus on the work ahead. I've done that for 14 years with MAPE and in other tough situations. And as an organizer, I started out as an environmental organizer with college students in New Jersey, because there's serious water quality issues in New Jersey. And I'm proud of what I accomplished there. I'm proud of what I've accomplished throughout my life. We have a clear choice here. And they'll try to say it's apolitical. I think we heard a lot of political statements tonight by the apolitical side. This is an elected office that we have to raise money, and we're on the ballot. Of course it's political. So I'll acknowledge that, I'll tell you the truth, and I'll stand with, regular people over the wealthy. And, yes, we have to respect management. I sit down with commissioners of state agencies and HR directors of state agencies and the literal labor relations director of Minnesota Management and Budget on a regular basis and get things done. I can get this done. I'm asking for your support and your volunteer time, and maybe your money if you got some. Thank you.
Mr. Miller, you have the mic for closing statement. Thank you.
So I'm about hope. That's what I'm about, and I've got a fair amount of experience. I've worked in government, I've worked for the parks. I've had successes. Those successes are small. Sometimes you get a big one, but usually it's by adding a lot of small things together and listening carefully and studying what's going on. The commissioner is a voice. He's getting stuff in from his constituents. That's one huge job to do. How do you kind of try to solve some of that stuff? The other piece is wonky stuff. It's sitting with a lot of paperwork and being able to dig through it. It's not easy answers. You're not going to get the world tomorrow. It's working through a number of things. And right now, we're in a tight budget time, and we've got to figure out how to keep as best we can going. So I'm about hope and a lot of experience, and I'm quiet, and I will be collaborative. I'm not my way or the highway. You've got to listen.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time and for your service, for your yes. It is now time for the end of forum survey. Underneath your see a QR code. If you could scan that and take the next few minutes to fill that out, we'd be most appreciative. Thank you so much.
Hi, everyone. Thank you all for coming tonight. The next forum is October 23rd. It's the park board at large. And that will be October 23rd at Chambers Hotel. I don't know the address of the hotel. I think it's on Hennepin Avenue. And it's from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. So thank you all for coming tonight. And I hope to see you guys in a couple weeks.
That's a great question you got.
Yes, big round of applause for you guys too.
And please fill out the serve. Please fill out the serve.
Thank you.
Can I say something?
I just want to say that we have two Dans here, yes, Mr. Engelhardt, but Dan Miller has been very instrumental in getting the 26th Avenue North Greenway bikeway here. I helped get this here, but he got it over the river to 18th Avenue Northeast. And he is the chair of our Great Northern Greenway. He does a tremendous job. I hope you understand what I'm saying.
You found real people who understand.
We were on that, we've been on that together years ago too, you know that.